Hey everyone, I see on social media sometimes where people are arguing whether a day begins in the evening or the morning. But what do the scriptures say? Let's find out. Shalom everybody, and welcome to Beit Tefillah. I think most people reckon their scriptural days from sunset to sunset, as well as keeping the Sabbath and the feast days, as they believe this is how we are to reckon a scriptural day. But there are others that insist that the day begins at sunrise or at dawn when we first see the sun, and that the next day would begin at the following sunrise or dawn, and that's how they reckon their scriptural days. But which one is correct? Let's read a little bit of scripture and use just a little bit of logic and find out. Some people say that creation started when Elohim said, "Let there be light." So this is when a day should begin, when the light starts. But is this accurate? It's recorded that Elohim said, "Let there be light" in Genesis chapter 1, verse 3. But what do the first two verses say? Let's read those in Genesis 1, verses 1 to 2. In the beginning, Elohim created the heavens and the earth. And the earth came to be formless and empty, and darkness was on the face of the deep. And the Spirit of Elohim was moving on the face of the waters. So we should stop and ask ourselves, how could the Spirit of Elohim be moving over these waters if they had not been created yet? The heavens and the earth were created first before there was this light. Another way to make this point, the very first scriptural verse in Torah says, "in the beginning," and goes on to describe the state of the earth. That was the beginning of everything and the beginning of the first day, and there was darkness when Elohim began to create. This is a very important point to realize. Let's take a look at something else. Elohim made the light and separated it from the darkness, and that was day one. Then on day two, Elohim separated the waters from the heavens or the sky. And then on day 3, Elohim made the dry land appear from the midst of the waters, and he created the plants and the trees and the seed-bearing fruit. And then we get to the fourth day, and we read the following in Genesis 1, 14 to 18. "And Elohim said, Let lights come to be in the expanse of the heavens to separate the day from the night, and let them be for signs and appointed times, and for days and years, and let them be for lights in the expanse of the heavens to give light on the earth. And it came to be so. And Elohim made two great lights, the greater light to rule the day, the sun, and the lesser light to rule the night, or the moon, and the stars. And Elohim set them in the expanse of the heavens to give light on the earth, and to rule over the day, and rule over the night, and to separate the light from the darkness." So look at everything that Elohim created before he created the sun. He worked 3 days without it. So that presents a big problem for those who believe that the day starts when the sun rises. Let's read again, Genesis 1:5. "And Elohim called the light day, and the darkness he called night. And there came to be evening, and there came to be morning, the first day." By mentioning the evening before the morning, the Torah defines a day as beginning with the evening, followed by the morning. And it was evening, and it was morning. First the night, then the day. The Torah tells us clearly that evening preceded morning in the ordering of a day. We're given this example not just once, but 6 times throughout the account of creation. Evening then morning was day 1, all the way through. Evening and morning was day number 6. Clearly, if morning was when the day began, the text would have read, "And the morning and the evening were the first day." But that's not how it reads. And another point I'd like to make from the creation account, once more we'll hear Genesis 1:5. "And Elohim called the light day, and the darkness he called night. And there came to be evening, and there came to be morning, the first day." So as we can hear, Elohim puts the word evening in with the word day. And there came to be evening, and there came to be morning, the first day. Both of these words, translated in the English word day, are from the same Hebrew word yom. So the evening comes first, then the daytime, and together they make up one complete day. And I should be able to stop right there, but I want to add some more scripture to tighten this up a little bit for a clearer understanding. Let's read some verses about what we are to do if we should become unclean. Starting with Leviticus 11:27. And whatever goes on its paws among all the creatures that go on all fours, those are unclean to you. Anyone who touches their carcass is unclean until evening. In Leviticus 11:28, and he who picks up their carcass has to wash his garments and shall be unclean until evening. Leviticus 22:7, and when the sun goes down he shall be clean, and afterward eat the set apart offerings, because it is his food. When the sun sets, it begins a new day, and thereby people would be clean starting on the new day. We would be unclean for the day that we had become unclean, which would end at sunset, which is being unclean until evening. I'm going to switch gears and talk about something else for a minute. What about setting the new moon in the beginning of a new month, or even the new year after sunset? The new month and the new year, they start on a new day. Elohim would not have us start a new year in the middle of a day. And since we are to start each new month when we see the new moon, well, we can't see the new moon during the day. And in the morning, the new moon isn't even in a place in the sky where it would even be visible. We can see that it isn't logical to think that the day begins at sunrise if the new month begins with the sighting of the new moon. The new moon is sighted only minutes after sunset. The new month and the new day begin at the same time. I'm sure most are familiar with this next passage about Yom Kippur in Leviticus 23:28-32. And you do no work on that same day, for it is the day of atonement, to make atonement for you before Yehovah your Elohim. For any being who is not afflicted on that same day, he shall be cut off from his people. And any being who does any work on that same day, that being I shall destroy from the midst of his people. You do no work, a law forever throughout your generations in all of your dwellings. It is a Sabbath of rest to you, and you shall afflict your beings. On the 9th day of the month, at evening, from evening to evening, you observe your Sabbath. So let's look carefully at this with some logic. If the text said, from morning to morning you shall celebrate your Sabbath, well, that would be proof that the day begins at dawn. That's not what it says. Leviticus 23:27-32 gives us the exact starting and ending times for what is identified as a single day, which in this case the 10th day, and one 24-hour period from the evening on the 9th day throughout the evening on the 10th day. I've heard some people suggest that the Day of Atonement actually involves 2 days, the last 12 hours of the 9th day and the first 12 hours of the 10th day. Would our Elohim actually have one of his most set apart days made up of 2 halves of 2 different days? The Torah does not state, for the last half of the 9th day and the first half of the 10th day shall be the days of atonement. Elohim was very clear when the 10th day of the month started and ended. Leviticus 23:27, on the 10th day of the 7th month is the day of atonement. So just that we would not misunderstand when the 10th day is, Elohim makes it clear again in Leviticus 23:32. On the 9th day of the month at evening, from evening to evening, you observe your Sabbath. So when the evening of the 9th day arrives, it's the beginning of the 10th day. Elohim said that the beginning of the 10th day is in the evening, and the close of the 10th day is in the evening. By what Elohim stated in the Torah, we can easily see the beginning and the ending of the 24-hour period of the singular Day of Atonement, and that it's from evening until evening. It's the Day of Atonement, not the days of atonement. By the same way also, he defines the week-long feast of unleavened bread that we can read in Exodus 12:18. In the first month, on the 14th day of the month, in the evening, you shall eat unleavened bread until the 21st day of the month in the evening. So as we can easily see, the Feast of Unleavened Bread is to last 1 complete week. And just to make sure we get this moed correct as well, Elohim told us on the 14th day of the month in the evening, you shall eat unleavened bread until the 21st day of the month in the evening. So on the 14th day of the month, once you get to the evening, it's going to become the 15th day until the 21st day of the month in the evening. Count them out. That's exactly 7 days from evening to evening. Otherwise, if it went from morning to morning, that doesn't make sense, because then that would either be shaving off part of a day or adding an extra part of the day. So it would involve 8 or 9 days, and that wouldn't make sense. That'd be confusion, and that wouldn't be right. This video would also not be complete without reading Nehemia 13:19. And it came to be at the gates of Jerusalem, as it began to be dark before the Sabbath, that I commanded the gates to be shut, and commanded that they should not be opened till after the Sabbath. And I stationed some of my servants at the gates, so that no burdens would be brought in on the Sabbath day. Notice this verse said, as it began to be dark before the Sabbath. This is obviously because the Sabbath starts at nightfall. The text did not state, as it began to be dark the night before the Sabbath. And that's exactly how it would read if the day and the Sabbath would have started the following morning. That's not the case. Quite a bit of this supposed proof that people use to suggest that the day starts in the morning comes from the New Testament. Since we know we are to discard all of the New Testament, well, most of the proof gets thrown out right along with it. Well, some of the passages, when you're reading them at first, almost seem to appear in some cases that the day would start at the dawn. Once we really look into it and look into the logic like we've done here, you can see that that falls apart. So while a couple of the verses seem to suggest that, not all of them do. They don't fit into that doctrinal theory, but they all fit into the truth of the matter, that they start from evening to evening or sunset to sunset. They all fit in that way. Say somebody harms someone in your family and you have 2 suspects. You got one suspect over here who some of the things sort of appear to fit. You're not positive, but it almost looks that way. And you have another suspect where everything fits. Who are you going to go after? Who are you going to prosecute? I mean, that's a no-brainer. Sunset starts the nighttime and sunrise started daytime. But together, both halves make up one day. Dawn marks the beginning of the daytime, not the beginning of the day. You know, and I know not everyone is going to agree with this video, as some people are following a favorite doctrine of theirs instead of Scripture and logic. And we've seen this type of thing before with the whole lunar Sabbath theory or doctrine and the whole vegetarian-only thing, and there's some other doctrinal issues that people are going to latch onto, and they're going to promote those things. And that's kind of normal, but people need to look for the truth. They need to match it up with the Word, and don't be thinking with your heart. Follow what Elohim set forth for His people, and know that He's not going to confuse us. He has perfect cycles, and everything is going to be laid out in a clear and concise way, like the days going from sunset to sunset fits everything. We need to remember that the sun rules the day. When the sun goes down, the day is over. No more sun visible in the sky, the end of the day. No more moon visible in the sky, the end of the month. It's quite simple. As we can easily see from simply reading Scripture and applying a little bit of logic, the days go from sunset to sunset, not from morning to morning. So that's pretty much what I have today for this video. One other thing that I wanted to mention today is that we get a lot of people asking how they can help with our ministry. I don't ask for money, I don't solicit for funds, and usually when people offer money, I tell them to try to find somebody else that needs financial assistance in some way. But some people, they're really nice and they just really insist on helping. So for those that do insist, I created an Amazon wish list of things that can be purchased that will go directly into our office or the new studio to help with Bait to Philip Productions. I think there's only something like 10 items on our list for now. So if people want to help, they can simply click the link below in the description for our wish list, pick an item they'd like to help out with, purchase it, and it gets shipped directly to us. So for those who wish to help this way, I thank you very much. Well, I hope this video blessed you. A shout out and a shalom to all who are truly Israel and scattered worldwide in the dispersion. Everybody be blessed and have a wonderful day.